Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Browns Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski. Some people call me Grizzer. And this is where you can pop on in and get caught up on some of the latest news involving our Cleveland Browns and get some takes along the way. If you can, please like this episode, like all of the episodes. Also, like the viewer comments that are thrown in there. And if you can, please subscribe to the channel. We are getting close to 5,000 subscribers. Phone the neighbors, wake the kids, see if they don't have anything to do today. Subscribe to the Browns Latest YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it, and I thank you so much for everybody who has supported our little show along the way. Speaking of, on today's show, what one local radio station did here in Cleveland during the OTAs, pure genius in my mind. Also, Kenny Pickett getting some love from a Steelers Hall of Famer, and he thinks he may have the reason why he struggled so much in Pittsburgh, and we'll see. We'll see if he's right. Also, was Shedeur Sanders' biggest flaw exposed in some of these videos from the OTAs that are coming out on social media? We're going to investigate. And then also in the viewer comments, why Myles Garrett not showing up to OTAs hits differently with some Browns fans, including me. But let's get started. First things first, I thought this was genius. When I saw this come out, ESPN Cleveland had a quarterback tracker. What they did was they split people up because the quarterbacks were all on different fields. You know, the Browns were making it as difficult as possible for anybody to try and compare the quarterbacks at the same time. And so they're putting them on different fields. And they tracked each of the passes during 7-on-7 drills and 11-on-11 drills. And here's what they came up with. Flacco, 9 of 14, and he threw one touchdown. Shedeur Sanders, 7 of 9, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Kenny Pickett, you see there, 9 of 16, no TDs, no interceptions. And Dillon Gabriel, 11 of 16, 2 TDs, and 1 interception. And an interception came off of that batted pass we talked about yesterday. Mason Graham got his arm up, batted that pass down, which I think is a bigger problem than a lot of other things. But the quarterback tracker, to me, was pure genius. And here's the thing, though, folks. The touchdowns that Shedeur threw were in the 7-on-7 drills. So it wasn't 11-on-11s. The other thing is this. There's really no pass rush in any of this. So it's good to see these high completion percentages, right? From all the quarterbacks. I mean, those are all pretty good. Although Pickett, a little off. But, Flacco, 9 of 14. Gabriel, 11 of 16. But to see Shedeur 7 of 9, that's great. Remember, he's touted as one of the most accurate passers in college last year. So those are all good things to see. But we have to, you take it a little bit with a grain of salt. But it's good. It's good information, I guess. I mean, they're out there. They do have guys coming at them, but it's not a pure pass rush. But to do this, ESPN Cleveland, I thought this was pure genius to come up with this because, oh my gosh, that's all anybody's ever was talking about this morning after OTA. So great move by ESPN Cleveland. Good insight for us, good information. But like I say, take it with a grain of salt. And we'll see. We'll see if all the quarterbacks can keep it up. But again, we talked about it. When you look at those videos, high percentage passes is what we saw a lot of yesterday. Now, speaking of passers, Terry Bradshaw, the former Steelers quarterback, he is ripping into the Steelers, and it's about Kenny Pickett. Listen to what he says. He says they throw a kid in there for 2 years, and you got an offense that doesn't fit and doesn't work, and they can't run because their offensive line's not even good enough for a run-blocking team. Now they're saying Kenny Pickett is a failure. He wasn't a failure. The Steelers were a failure. So it got me thinking. I'm like, we're wondering about Kenny Pickett, and I'm like, could that have been part of the problem with Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh? Was it the system? Was it a square peg, round hole type situation? And do the Browns, did the Browns recognize that too? Remember, the Browns vetted Pickett during the pre-draft process when he came out. And so they had their intel on Kenny Pickett. So did they see that too and think along the same lines of if we get him in the right system, we think he can flourish. And guess what? That system is ours. So there's another facet to the whole Kenny Pickett. This whole quarterback thing, folks, is just beyond fascinating. I mean, we are the talk of the NFL right now because of our quarterback situation. I mean, nobody's even talking about Flacco. And I mean, he's the guy that performed. He's been in this system and performed very well in this system. And still, he's kind of an afterthought still because everybody wants to talk about, is Kenny Pickett the clubhouse leader? What's Shedeur Sanders doing every day? Dillon Gabriel picked third, and he's probably the Browns guy. And this, and he's, to me, he hasn't. I don't know what to make of any of this so far, but it is just fascinating what's going on. Now, another thing that's coming out is, could Shedeur Sanders' ball padding be a flaw? I got to tell you, folks, I noticed this, and I almost brought it up yesterday, but a lot of other people noticed it too. When he's out there, a lot of times, and maybe because it's a drill sometimes, and he knows that the pass rush is very limited or non-existent, and so it's just a habit of his to pat the ball. But I noticed that I'm like, man, he's patting the ball a lot, and it slows down release time in the NFL. You can't do that. I mean, it is that quick release is going to be important, and so this is going to have to be something that is coached out of him. But it started coming out in the videos that are coming out on social media, and people were noticing and commenting on it, and then they were trying to compare his passes to Dillon Gabriel's passes, and then I disagree. Some of them were saying, well, if you look, Sanders' passes, he threw a pass to a tight end, and it was his tight end was closer to the sideline than when Dillon Gabriel threw the pass to his tight end. He was off the sideline a little more. I disagree with that. I think that was splitting hairs a little bit, but I do think the padding thing is a thing, and this goes back, folks. It's not just me. This goes back to before the draft. During Shedeur's pro day, when Andre Sisco, the Jets safety, watching the video, he put out, he's like, hey, he can't be patting that ball. He says, we'll be breaking on that way early. So this is from an NFL safety, folks, back in April, who noticed it and saw him patting that ball. And, these NFL corners and safety, they're the best on the planet, folks. And so they will make you pay if you decide to release it late. And so I just bring this up because remember, we talked about, Shedeur, the negatives that he had, they're all coachable. And again, I think this is another one of those coachable items, and something to keep your eye on as OTAs move forward, and then we get into training camp. We'll have to see if the patting of the ball goes away once we get to full go, especially training camp. Training camp is where it's really going to matter, and then you get into those combined practices, when they get to the Eagles, and that's when it's really going to show its head, I guess, when we get there, because that's when it really matters. That's when the competition will heat up. Now, I'll tell you what, one thing where there are no flaws are the viewer comments. And so we'll begin today with Jerry. This is password, not YouTube handle, Jerry-U7V8D. So if you need a password, there's a good one. Thanks, Jerry. Talking about Shedeur. And again, going back to the whole ball padding thing too, it applies to everything. He says film. All he needs is film. I agree. I think that'll definitely help when you see that and you compare college to the pros and the difference, because everybody in the pros is good. In college you find some weaker teams, you might get away with things like that. But I do think film work, all of it, the VR stuff that they're doing, everything is going to help all of these quarterbacks as OTAs move on and we get closer to the season. Antonio Allison, 5124, says the Browns will move backwards if Pickett starts. And I'm like, we don't know yet, folks. We just do not know, because they're just out there doing drills and learning the offense and putting things together. But like I mentioned before, it's like Flacco is still an afterthought, and everybody, the two rookies. I don't think the two rookies right now are playing into the starting role. I don't know if either one of them is going to be able to climb that mountain, and start week one. Now, that's not to say I think during the season it will happen, because the thing with Pickett, and we mentioned, the whole maybe the system was wrong for him. Injuries have been his biggest problem. And and Joe Flacco is, he's 40. He's going to be 41 soon. Like those are not long-term people in my mind, because I think Pickett's injury history, but who knows if the Browns are running the ball a lot more and he's if he is the starter and they're throwing these high percentage passes and he's getting the ball out of his hands, maybe he won't get injured. But there are a lot of factors involved, but I do think week one it's going to be either Flacco or Pickett to start, and a lot of other people seem to think it's going to be Pickett, but we will see. Long way to go. It's only May. All right, how about this one? Zach Sparks, 614. How is Miles not showing up to OTAs a big deal, but not for Bitonio? They both earned the right to take time off. They don't need the work. Newsome should be there. Remember, Greg Newsome didn't show up? Also missing Deontay Johnson, Joel Bitonio, as mentioned, Jack Conklin, not there, David Njoku, not there. Here's the difference, though, with Myles Garrett. So Bitonio never shows up to OTAs. This is like his thing. He just never comes to the voluntary stuff. Kevin Stefanski stressed multiple times yesterday. Voluntary. They don't have to be here. Denzel Ward's there, though. There are a lot of vets there doing their thing. And what's different, and here, let me throw this one in too. Atlas Sean, he was on me about this too in the comments. Which is fine. I'm glad. This is what I want, folks. I want what we talk about on the show to spur conversation in the comments. I want healthy conversation in the comments. And he says, Sean says, it's voluntary. Nobody has to show up. Stop caring so much. It's not a bad look at all. And here's the thing. The Miles situation for me and a lot of Browns fans is different because of what he did after last season. Demanding a trade and then going to the Super Bowl and hitting Radio Row and just slamming Cleveland. And talking about how bad it was and just saying, and then, they ended up working out the deal and all, but, he was issued that challenge of being a team leader. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy on defense, right? And this is a team, like I mentioned a few shows ago, it needs stability, it needs leaders, and he is the guy to lead that defense. And I just think that, it instead of house shopping, you could pick any week to go house shopping in Tokyo. Would it have killed you to show up? Even if you don't participate, just be there for the younger guys. Flacco said that yesterday. Flacco said the importance of OTAs goes beyond the learning and the on-field stuff. He says it's about getting the guys together and building that camaraderie. And so there's a big part of that goes on with these OTAs. And so I thought Newsome should be there too. I think Deontay Johnson should be there. Like, it's a new team, a new system, and they're like, why isn't he there? But Miles, this is different, folks. It's a little bit personal with Browns fans. And so, that's just where it lies. And so let's talk about it in the comments, but that's just where it lies. And we'll end with Melvin McDowell. I always want to end on a positive note. Melvin McDowell, 5954. This is his assessment of the Myles Garrett situation and anybody else who didn't show up to OTAs. He says, I'll worry about it closer to the season. And you know what? He's right. We can't just worry about it when we get a little closer to the season. But, the Myles Garrett thing is a little different. It was a huge story here in Cleveland, folks. Myles Garrett wasn't there and out, shopping for houses in Tokyo. So it wasn't just me. A lot of people. It kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate it so much. No practice today, but we'll be back on the field again tomorrow on Friday. And so we will break it all down tomorrow and all through the weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. That'll do it. Go Browns. We'll see you next time.